Hi, I'm Angel Santos, and I want to ask you a question. What happens when you don't have money, but you need to buy something? What happens if you want to buy a new laptop, but you can't get money from your parents, and you don't have a job? Normally, it'd be okay. I'm sure you still have an old laptop that you can use for anything you want. But what happens if you need this new laptop for college? Then the issue becomes, how do I get it? Well, if you're already in college, you might have a student loan that you've taken out. Well, maybe use the money from that. But the issue of student loans is that it costs, by the time you graduate, you don't know how much you'll owe and how much you have to pay back. And that can lead to a lot of problems. So, today I'm going to be helping persuade you on the efforts of canceling student debt. Now, my own personal relationship to student debt comes from the fact that I am also in college. And while currently I don't have any student debt, the issue becomes of the career path I want to choose. Let's say I want to be a doctor, but 3 years down the line I change my mind. I want to do something else. Let's say maybe I want to be a writer or something that doesn't pay nearly as well. I still have all that student debt I need to pay off, including if I'm going to continue going to college. So, what do you do then? Well, student debt has been an issue in the United States for decades. Now, in the year 2020, it was recorded by education.org that student debt was around $17,350 for every student graduating. And in 2019, a statistic posted by Student Loan Hero suggested that students had an average of $29,900 of student debt by the time they graduated. Now, for reference, another statistic published by College Investor, however, on August 20th, 2020, stated that the average student debt was around $17,297 in the year 2000. Compared to the year 2020, that is a 53.4% increase. Now, a counterpoint against getting rid of student debt is that was mentioned in a Forbes article posted on November 25th, 2020, was that erasing student loans does not solve the underlying issue of the cost of higher education. While that is true, I believe that getting rid of student debt is a great first step on getting rid of the burden that students may be facing. A better solution can be made, as in lowering the cost of college education as a whole. Now, a different issue that students face in terms of student debt is the psychological aspect of it. For instance, an article posted by the American Psychological Association by Amy Novotny states that student debt has been linked to feelings of dread, guilt, and shame over having to pay severe amounts of money even after graduating. A former student named Doreen Arsenal, who graduated with a PhD, said that with the amount of money she had from her loans, she'd most likely be paying off her loans until she died. The amount of money she took out was estimated to be $170,000. Now, due to student debt, since she had pursued 2 master's degrees and a doctorate in clinical science. Another article posted by Very Well Mind in December 28, 2020 further shows the issue of student debt, such as the stress of mandatory payments and the amount of interest the student may need to pay back. Now, another counterpoint to getting rid of student debt is that it wouldn't be fair to former students who had already paid off their debt. A solution to this would be to allow for students to apply for something fairly similar, something like a student loan forgiveness plan. Maybe, depending on how long ago they paid off their student debt, they can be reimbursed partially. Now, recent steps to alleviate student debt can be shown by an article published by The Hill on April 27, 2021, that states President Joe Biden had been pushing for a plan to alleviate $10,000 of student debt for students due to the global pandemic. Meanwhile, activists are pushing for him to alleviate $50,000 of student debt. Now, with the pandemic still affecting how students across the country attend school, the issue of student debt has only been felt even more as students worry about the debt they accumulate, and while they are still paying the same amount of money for taking college classes online instead of in class and on campus. Now, in the same article posted by The Hill, Bernie Sanders and Representative Pramila Jayapal introduced a legislation that would make community college tuition free, and four-year public college is free for families that make up to $125,000 per year. And the third argument against forgiving student loans is that there are still other loans that affect more Americans. The reason canceling student loans is so important is that it helps high school graduates decide on whether or not they want to continue their education. With the relief of student debt, that could help lead more students to actually following through with going to college. In conclusion, some solutions to student debt range from forgiving certain amounts of money that students already own to completely forgiving a student's current debt. The real issue is how do we continue to make sure student debt doesn't reach the amounts of money that it is currently or even exceeds it. Now, a main solution to lowering the cost of student debt in general, a future without student debt greatly benefits everyone, as it opens doors for students to continue their education without the burden of seemingly endless amounts of debt hanging over them. Ways that you can help against student debt and getting rid of it is to inform maybe friends or family members or just anyone if they're continuing or if they're planning to go to college, to look into scholarships, student relief programs, and convincing them to make overall smart decisions in terms of their education and their spendings.